Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Steve Goody speaking from Property Tutors head office in Wellington from Lower Hutt. Welcome to the webinar this evening. I'm going to, for the next probably the next hour, show you some stuff about the Wellington property market, answer your questions, and essentially sit here and talk at my screen on my own. So, hey, if you want to give me some feedback, there's a questions section in the webinar software there on the right-hand side of your screen, no doubt. And just so that I know that you're listening and that there is people plugged in and working properly, instead of a question, put in your location this evening. I'd really like to see how many people are logging in from around the country and around the world and who's local. And it gives me a bit of an idea of sort of the demographic, I suppose, of who I'm talking to. Awesome, looks like we're actually up and running. Taupo, Trentham, Wellington, Upper Hutt, Castor Bay in Auckland, the mighty Wainuiomata, Petone, just down the road here. Auckland, Lowry Bay, Miramar, Porora, Newtown, Lower Hutt, Blenheim, Mangareki, Vegas. Alex from the mighty Parapara, excellent, my hometown, previously to living in Lower Hutt. The Tron, Wainui, Kapiti, Wellington, Brooklyn, the mighty Kapiti Coast. Woodridge, Northern Auckland, Wellington, wow, good cross-section of people from all over the place. Lots of interest in Wellington property at the moment, which is expected and still pretty fabulous as well. Okay, this presentation is sort of an extension of a presentation I actually did last night. I actually spoke at the Capital Property Investors Association last night, and really enjoyed my presentation and sat there and listened to the first 15 minutes given by a young guy from CoreLogic who does data analysis for RPNZ and real estate sales, and couldn't help myself. He pretty much gave his presentation, and then I just basically spent an hour after that talking and basically agreeing with him. Wellington is absolutely going off at the moment, and now is the time to be in it and in it up to your eyeballs, to be fair, and I'm going to show you why. But first, let me fully introduce myself. My name is Stephen Goody. I'm considered a property expert, I suppose. I've been a self-employed property investor for north of 20-odd years now. I started out buying my first piece of real estate with my parents when I was about 19 years old, I think, on the Kapiti Coast in Parapara. Moved to Lower Hutt and Wellington generally, and I've been investing here ever since. I have a fair-sized portfolio in Wellington and Lower Hutt, love the place, and now teach and coach other people how to invest in property in these areas as well. There we go. So, and there's a little picture of the software bit so you can put in questions. What I'm going to basically do is I'm going to go through my presentation. Every now and then I'm just going to pause a little and bang through your questions as well, and try and answer as many of them as I possibly can. There are no dumb questions. There's just questions that make me cringe more than others. So, give it your best and I'll do the same. Awesome. Alrighty, let's roll along. So who are property tutors? For those of you that may not know who we are or where we've sort of come from, I suppose, Sean Wood and myself worked quite a few years ago with a previous company that did property education in New Zealand. He was their head coach based in Auckland, and I did a lot of work with him here in Wellington. And Sean started Property Tutors quite a few years ago now, 7, 8, maybe 9 years ago now. And I joined him for sort of 4 or 5 years ago. Haven't looked back, really love the work, love working with inspired and inspiring property investors all around the place. He runs the Auckland branch, I run the Wellington branch, and we both have CEOs that help us out as well. And that photo you can see there to the right of me, that gentleman is Phil Thompson, and he runs Auckland for Sean. And to the far left is Joy Thompson, believe it or not, no relation, who runs Wellington for me. She essentially runs my life for me, which is just fabulous because somebody's got to do it, right? Okay, awesome. That little red arrow in the photo there is a picture of the Property Tutors office. We've got a lovely office down the viaduct there in central Auckland. It's a really beautiful spot. And we invest in real estate ourselves. Sean owns a heck of a lot of Auckland. I own quite a bit of Lower Hutt and Wellington. We love property. We love real estate. We love what it can do for us and how it works. And both of us always invested in property heavily because we can control it and preempt it and understand it and work it properly and make it work for us. And I think that's one of the most important parts of it. It's real estate is our chosen vehicle, if you like, and we're there for life. We've both got very substantial portfolios, and I just love the way that it works. I love the way that you can be creative with deals, and I just love the stuff generally, still after 20 years. So that's what we do. So Wellington, I've done webinars in the past on the property market and on the Wellington property market, and every previous Wellington property market webinar that I've done I've mentioned Wellington is going to go off. Wellington is going to start moving, and it's going to go absolutely spear. And the reason I say that is we've been flat in the Wellington property market for 8 years. It's been 2007 since we had any real growth in the property market here. And in that meantime, people have paused. People have not purchased property for higher prices they had done previously. And the whole thing just went to sleep for a little while, which is understandable. Change of government happened in that time. A lot of political turmoil around the world happened in that time. We had a global financial crisis. An awful lot of stuff went on. A lot of that stuff is very much healed now, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that. And Wellington right now is, in my opinion, 4 or 5 months in to at least a 5-year upheaval in prices and activity. Now, I'm not going to say it's a boom or a bubble, because at the moment, after 8 years of a flat market, it's actually what I would consider a correction. We haven't had any growth for such a terribly long time. We were due it, and it's now coming. And part of that is the fact that if you imagine you've got three major markets in New Zealand. So firstly, we've got the Christchurch market, which is artificially stimulated by a massive injection of capital to repair the place. Now that's pulled Christchurch up, but only to a certain point. Then you've got Auckland, which is artificially injected by a massive injection of immigration. 20-odd thousand people a year, 50% of them settle in Auckland, 50% of them settle pretty much in the rest of the country. And Auckland property prices have just gone absolutely bonkers. We all know this. Last 6 or 7 years, they've just gone from power to power. Both of the markets in Christchurch and Auckland have gone through the roof for different reasons, and it's left Wellington looking a little bit like the poor cousin. Well, no more, I tell you. Essentially what's going on now in Wellington is we've got a few Auckland investors coming to Wellington and exploring the market down here, but mainly we've got Wellington first home buyers, predominantly 31% of the properties purchased in Wellington at the moment are first home buyers, are now pipping the post on investors and buying properties in Wellington. Now, I say they're pipping the post, but it won't last that way because of a few things that are going on. I'm going to explain what those are. Obviously, the media's jumped on board. This article is August 2015, and it's saying Wellington offers great opportunities for investors, first home buyers, and people looking to free up cash. Now, the reason that Tony Alexander is saying that is because, by comparison, we are half the price of Auckland for the same property. So if you bought a scruffy South Auckland 4-bedroom rental right now today in Manurewa or Papakura or anywhere in Auckland, you could be paying $600,000-$700,000 for that unrenovated. In Lower Hutt, you could be paying $300,000 or $400,000 for the exact same type of property. It's not that Auckland is overblown, don't get me wrong. I don't think Auckland's overcooked yet, but I think that Wellington is undercooked. I think that we have the real estate in this city is cheap. If you don't agree with me, then absolutely say so in the comments section there. I'd really love to hear somebody's opinions on that sort of thing. So here we go. Here's a question from Alan. What do you look for when you're choosing to purchase a residential property to rent out long term? What I look for is weatherboard, standalone, half-decent suburb, and does it fit my portfolio? Am I buying it for cash flow or capital gain? If I'm buying it for cash flow in Wellington, I'm buying it in the Hutt Valley. I'm buying it in Taita, Stokes Valley, Nainai, Moera. I'm buying it in the entry-level suburbs of the Hutt Valley. If I'm buying it for capital gain, I'm buying it in the entry-level suburbs of central Wellington and paying $300,000 or $400,000 more for the same property. So in Wellington, I'm purchasing it in Lyall Bay, Island Bay, Kandala, Mount Cook if I can afford it, Miramar sometimes, all over the place. Just staying away from those premium suburbs, your Roseneath, Oriental Bay, Thorndon, Central City. But, there's exceptions to every rule. So this is kind of what's happened in the last 3 or 4 months with the media taking on what's going on in the Wellington property market. I'll just let some of this wash over you for a minute while I wet the whistle. But, read some of these titles and it's just obscene. It's insane. Wellington prices are absolutely rocketing through the roof. Look at that. Very, very cool. And this is what Wellington's been waiting for. We want the taxi driver taking you home after a meal on Saturday night to be talking about the last rental he bought. We want the market to start waking up, to be fair. And here it goes. So what do we do about it? Why is it happening? Well, here's some pretty fresh stats from CoreLogic. Kapiti Coast up 6.8%. Upper Hutt, a little bit stagnant, up 3.7%. Wellington North, wow, 10%. Hutt City, a good solid 7%. Wellington West, 11.4%, and East, 11.3%. New Zealand as a whole, 12%. So New Zealand's property market, which is, let's face it, massively dominated by the Auckland property market, is tracking pretty much similarly to what Wellington is doing overall at the moment. If you're looking at inner city suburbs, if you're looking at those suburbs, 7, 8, 9 there, Wellington is, as I said, it's fair going off, but where's it going off and how? Here's some thoughts. The red lines are the rolling 3-month percentage change, and the blue line is the annual percentage change. So if you look at this from way back in 1992, we had this massive boom leading up to 2006, 2007. So if you look here at 2000, our housing stock was going down in value. You go right up to 2007 and it was absolutely booming. It came back down and crashed fairly badly. And since then it's gradually started to regrow. And in the last 3 or 4 months, gone a bit silly again. Loving that. And then you look at Auckland and there's the blue line. Christchurch is the red line. Wellington's the green line. So the most telling one, I think, is that Christchurch sort of superseded the growth of Wellington right back here in 2012, 2013. And Christchurch has pumped on and pumped on and pumped on. And Wellington has caught it up. Right here, 2016, we have finally caught up with Christchurch. But consider this, Wellington actually has a few cool things to it that Auckland doesn't have. We have government, we have all sorts of crazy infrastructure, all the bits and pieces that you would look at and go, hey, look, I'm really impressed with that, sure. But what does Wellington have on top of that? A massive scarcity of land. It is much harder to find a huge greenfields development in Wellington than it is in Auckland. And so conceivably, this little green line here, which is Wellington's growth, could exceed the growth that Auckland has seen up here. And Auckland's doing great, don't get me wrong. End of 2015, it had a wee blip. This is this little V that you see here at the very end here. I think that's attributed to the loan-to-value ratio restrictions, the changes that went on there. And Auckland has recovered from it. So there's a whole pile of talk at the moment in interest.co.nz talking about whether the Reserve Bank and the government will actually make those loan-to-value ratio restrictions even harsher. In the meantime, Wellington's come alive and is trucking up, and I think that if Wellington goes from this level here where the green is up to anywhere near where the blue is up here of Auckland, we're going to see an increase in values of our properties in Wellington Central by at least a factor of 2, meaning that they will double in value. And it's a bold call, but that's where I'm at. All right, so who else has figured this out? Well, Property Investor Magazine did a bit of stats on this, and that came out really, really interesting. Here's the interesting part of this. The Property Investor Magazine went out and said, hey, let's figure out what is the best suburb in New Zealand for yield. for cash flow. What's the best place to be actually investing right now currently? And they put the top 50 in a list in their magazine, but they actually analysed 481 suburbs, and they came up with a whole pile of analysis and basically said, hey, what is the best suburb around right now? But not only that, what's the best type of property to be purchasing in that suburb? And surprise, surprise, what they came up with is central Wellington. They said that, hey, for all of these factors, left, right, and centre, central Wellington right now is absolutely booming and is the best yield and return factor available on the market right now. And a nice comment here. Most of Wellington's central apartment tenants are professionals. They're very reliable. They want easy access to work and easy access to going out. And this is Shane Thurston, who's a good friend of mine from Lambton Property Management in Wellington. And he knows this market like the back of his hand. He runs many body corporates for many large apartment buildings in Wellington and is one of the biggest property management companies in Wellington. He knows this market, as I say, inside out. And he's sitting there going, hey, it's just easy. It's just easy to be in Wellington as an investor. So this is what they came up with. Wellington, Lambton, one-bedroom dwelling apartments, current yield 9.7%. Now, I've recently been up to Auckland and spoken to a few mates up there who are doing a lot of investment in Central and South Auckland, and they like a good investment that can return more than about 6%. We're also 7th on the list with Tiaro, which is the other side of the Wellington main suburbs, if you like. And we're actually about 6 or 7 suburbs in this list are in the top 25 from Wellington. So the Wellington suburbs are rolling up in this list. Now, I don't particularly like the fact that Wellington apartments get 9.7% return, but what I do like is that the 9.7% return will not be unique for very long. And by that I mean it can't be sustained at that level. Now, the tenants are prepared to pay the money for it to make it a 9.7% return, but very, very quickly people will figure out that that's not sustainable and they will increase the sell price of the apartments and people will buy more apartments, particularly one-bedroom apartments in that location, for higher prices, which will bring that gross yield, that net yield down. And that will create upward pressure on prices in Wellington again, which is fabulous. Got some questions coming through. Let's answer a few, shall we? Given a large proportion of first home buyers in the Wellington market, what opportunities, threats do you see to the market and the potential introduction of debt to income restrictions? I don't see the Reserve Bank or the government bringing debt to income restrictions to Wellington. I see them doing it to Auckland to cool the Auckland property market off, but certainly not Wellington. I think they see that we've been flat for 8 years and we could do with a little bit of capital gain. So I don't actually see that as a big problem. What do you think about buying land in the new developing areas like Aotea or Churton Park? I'm not actually, to be fair, a huge fan of them myself. Aotea and Churton Park and Greenfields developments, if you look at the value of those buildings out there, it takes a good 10 years, in my opinion, for them to be worth more than what the developer sells them for in those suburbs out there because, hey, you can just open up another field and have another 100 houses out there if you want to. There's no scarcity to it, whereas Wellington Central is surrounded by water and Lower Hutt is surrounded by valleys that can't be built, hills that can't be built on. And I think that gives it some scarcity. It gives it a factor of that. What should first-time buyers with a moderate budget be looking to buy and what areas should we be avoiding? Great question. I've actually got some maps. I'll chuck it up very shortly and I'll let you know that. Boom. Okay. I've got a question there by somebody that says they can only see the intro screen. If that's true, then please roll forward, log out, log back in, I think would probably be the best way to go. Good question from Francis. What are the best sources of data on house prices and trends at a detailed level? Probably CoreLogic. Go and have a look at either QV or RPNZ, both pretty much coming from the same feed. We only have enough to invest in a $300 to $400 price bracket. Best capital for this price, i.e. where in the Hutt or Pora? Let me cover that shortly. I have maps coming up. Lee asks, oh, great question. So would that mean that we have missed the boat? Absolutely not. So I wish I could roll 5 years back into the boom in Auckland and buy 4 or 5 houses there, but I can't. You are poised at the perfect place and opportunity to do that in the Wellington market. We're only 3 months into this, and it's going to go for a few years. There's a whole pile of factors there that just can't be beat. Yeah, I'll get into that shortly too. Whew, this is getting exciting. Wellington has earthquake, Auckland doesn't. That's the risk. That is a risk, I'll give you that, but then they didn't think that Christchurch would have an earthquake either. So, yeah, a lot of people find some excuses not to invest, and I get that. Okay, so let's roll through what I like about Wellington right now. Wellington's in the midst of spending $10 billion on itself, and I just love this. So this is Transmission Gully. If you can see my little cursor here, this is sort of Tawa, and Transmission Gully rolls through the back of the hills into no man's land, goes through this massive gully, and basically comes out here at Mackay's Crossing at just north of Paikokariki. And what it does is it bypasses this huge amount of windy coastal motorway and gives us 4 or 5 lanes of smooth, beautiful, lovely motorway. Now, they've been planning this motorway since the 1940s. Now, my parents bought a house in Raumati South because they were going to build this motorway. They bought that house in 1972, and 43 years later, they're still waiting for that motorway to come through, and it's nearly finished. This is absolutely massive for the southern suburbs and the absolute commercial base of Wellington. Now, if you add to this all of the other motorway extensions that are going on, this is the Sandhills motorway. It's basically the end of the Transmission Gully motorway, goes right through the Kapiti Coast and basically bypasses Raumati South, Paparam Beach, Waikanae, and Waikanae Beach, and it takes people on a 100k an hour spin from Paikokariki to Mackay's Crossing and Peka Peka. So that's the far extension north, I suppose you could say, of this. And believe it or not, based on CoreLogic's numbers last night that I saw, this is creating a massive boom on the Kapiti Coast. Prices in Paparam, Waikanae, even as far as Otaki and Levin even, are already seeing the advances of the fact that Paparam should now be 40 minutes from central Wellington. And it's just a beautiful place to live. I did live there for 20 years myself, and it's a great place to live. So the next one, and this is a sort of a more understated one, I don't know if a lot of people have actually figured out that this one's going on, the Petone to Granada link. Now, at the moment, if you live in Lower Hutt and you want to go to Wellington, you've got to go down the Wellington motorway. If the Wellington motorway is shut, there's a crash, there's a landslide, there's an earthquake, anything like that, you've got to go up State Highway 2 to State Highway 58, go across the back to Judgeford Golf Course and come out at Pawatahanui. Then you've got to drive up State Highway 1 round Tawa, Johnsonville into central Wellington. It's an extra hour's trip. It's a big drive. It's the only way in and out of the Hutt otherwise. Now, Transit have decided that down here at Petone, there's a massive roundabout. Now, at that roundabout, it's going to go up through the Horokiwi Hill, across a whole pile of Lincolnshire farms, and connect up with Mark Ave, which is Granada, and then head straight out towards Granada Central, which will connect it to State Highway 1 at a roundabout Tawa, which will then take people straight onto Transmission Gully from there. Now, this initiative has created a massive upheaval in Lower Hutt already. Not politically and not people jumping up and down, but believe it or not, money moving around. So the moment that this was announced, the Queensgate Mall in central Lower Hutt was sold for $172 million. They went, nah, we're out. We don't want people from Lower Hutt being able to have access to Porirua so easily. They're talking it's going to be 12 minutes from Petone there to Granada. 4 lanes, 2 each way, great new motorway, straight up a hill and down the other side. So you're going to be able to go from Petone, central Hutt, and basically be in Porirua in 15 minutes instead of having to come all the way up State Highway 1 to Naronga Gorge and go down State Highway 2 from there. So, I mean, this is massive. The other thing that happened at the same time is an investor bought the Tapuna Mail Centre, which is just about where the word to is in the Petone to Granada. Where it says 2 there, that's the mail centre. Gentleman purchased that and put the single largest Bunnings store in the Lower North Island into it, and they signed a massive long 40-year lease. That's a massive show of commitment by a huge Australian company to the fact that they love this new link, because they're thinking to themselves, retail-wise, we can pull buyers from Pororua, we can pull buyers from Wellington, and we can pull purchases from Lower Hutt now to this central hub. And that's just created a massive uprising in Petone properties, even in the last few months, which will continue to go on as people realise how massive it is. The other thing that's happening down there in the Petone retail sector is a new Bunnings and a new Resines. New Resines, new Rebel Sports, and a new Bunnings. That's just huge. Big, big money. This is State Highway 2 at Hayward's Interchange. This is Hayward's Hill, or State Highway 58 Interchange. So the big one in front of you there is State Highway 2, and it jumps off up the hill here to State Highway 58. This is also having a massive upgrade to it, which is fantastic, much needed. It basically means you can go from Lower Hutt to Upper Hutt at 100 km an hour in cruise control and not have to stop at any lights. Fantastic, loving that. And obviously our long-awaited $300 million airport extension. The extension itself actually isn't that big, but what it basically means is that Airbus A320s and 380s can now land, their wider-bodied, faster planes in Wellington, which means direct flights to Wellington from Los Angeles and direct flights to Wellington from most major cities in Asia as well. Love it. Alrighty, so I'm bang through a few more questions. What do you think about buying up Kapiti Coast for a rental? I love it. Love the Kapiti Coast. I think it's a grass idea. Why do I prefer weatherboard homes? If you buy 1950s, 60s, and 70s weatherboard homes, they've got actual timber on the side of them as opposed to possibly asbestos. They just last longer. I think they look better, and they don't rot out as much. They're just readable, and they're solid and dependable. What issue of the Property Magazine? The latest issue of the Property Magazine is the gold one with a 150 issue celebration. It's the previous issue, the one just before that, so last month's. Steve, can you explain how capital gains tax work? Yeah, I could, but I don't have that sort of time, I'm sorry. There we go. Oh, good question here. There's a few apartments being built in 2017. Will this have a dampening effect on prices in Wellington? No, I really don't think they will. In 2005-06, we built, 700 or 800 apartments in central Wellington, and it took about 3 months for the marketplace to absorb them. At the moment, the largest apartment block being built, new apartment block being built in Wellington, is 62 apartments. Everything else is 20 or 30 apartments. And you've got Island Bay townhouses selling off the plan within hours. There's just a massive need for it. We're not doing enough. How do you think Carterton Featherston's going to go over the next 5 years? Is it worth investing that way? Yeah, I like Carterton Featherston, but they're kind of two-stage economy. They're either families living there or they're boutique accommodation, but they're still good. All right, moving on a bit. What else is going on in Wellington? Population of 492,000 people, number one in the world for education, most educated workforce in New Zealand, lower staff turnover than elsewhere in the country. 47% of Wellington's workforce employed in knowledge-intensive industries, which I think is really important because it means that on average, your Wellingtonian tenant has a really good income and is stable in their job, which is nice. And less expensive office space than elsewhere in the country as well. And we've also got a massive advantage in the tech companies that are in Wellington. There's a lot of them, and they're absolutely huge. And they do cool stuff internationally that you possibly don't know about. I could go on about Xero, Weta, a few of these other companies, left, right, and centre all night, about what it is they do. But let's just imagine that these are companies that are working on the world stage, and they are bringing in massive incomes to Wellington and to New Zealand that you're probably and possibly not aware of. And they do great stuff. And they hire New Zealanders, and I'm loving that. Cool, moving on. Capital growth versus cash flow. Wellington versus Lower Hutt. I've always said that I like Lower Hutt for cash flow, and I do, and I really love Wellington for capital gain. I'm not saying that Lower Hutt doesn't get capital gain, it does, but Wellington's where the most of it sort of comes from. So that's how I've always invested. I've always worked really hard on making sure that I get my cash out of flats, units, typical good investment properties in Lower Hutt area. And I always try and get my hands on as much central Wellington property stock as I possibly can because I believe that's where the capital gain will come in the next few years. So, what areas do I like? Alrighty, let's go. Pretty much anything in central Wellington is pretty good at the moment. I try and avoid Strathmore Park if I possibly can. And there's bits of Newtown that I avoid, but realistically, Wadestown, Thorndon, Oriental Bay, Mount Cook, Mount Vic, Lyell Bay, Island Bay, anything out towards the airport. I'm a huge fan of High Tai. I quite like Kandala and Wadestown depending on the property you get. But this is why I like Petone. Now, we spoke about Petone a little bit earlier, and I told you that there was stuff really starting to move in Petone because of the motorways and the infrastructure spend. Now, check this out. And I'm going to walk you through this because it's an important sort of transition. First, I've got the street name, the type of property, the price it's sold for, when it's sold, and whether it was renovated or not. So let's look at this. High Street, 5-bedroom, sold for $475 12 months ago, unrenovated. Now, the person that bought that thought they paid too much for it. It's now valued at closer to $800,000 post-renovation. Bracken Street, 3-bedroom, bought for $460,000 8 months ago, unrenovated. Plunkett Street, I bought this one, 5-bedroom, it's a room, not a rude. 5-bedroom, I paid $571,000 for it 7 months ago. It's now worth $750,000. Buick Street, I was blown away by this. One of my clients tried to buy this property, 4-bedroom, totally unrenovated, $560,000 4 months ago, unrenovated. Right, Queen Street, 3-bedroom, tiny house, tiny section, sold 3 months ago, renovated for $630,000. That's a pretty good margin. If you look back to High Street, 5 bedrooms, $475,000 unrenovated. Queen Street, 3 bedrooms, $630,000 renovated. Now, William Street, a beautiful home, 4 bedrooms, sold 2 months ago for $830,000 renovated. Richmond Street, 4 bedrooms, $820,000 2 months ago. Buick Street, 3 bedrooms, $825,000 a month ago renovated. And then the final one is just a small 2-flat property on the foreshore here in Waione Street. Went to the auction a couple of weeks ago. It's 2-flat, getting $525 per week, sold for $525,000. That's a 5.2% gross return. It's not even a net return. So by net, it's probably only at the interest rate. So somebody has purchased that, essentially going, hey, I'm either going to spend a lot of money on it or it's actually going to be cash flow negative. Now, if I use that 5.2% gross return as an average, the values of every property in the list above that would go up. And that's simply because it's the newest sale. And so people are paying massive money to be in certain suburbs, anything in central Wellington, and good quality stuff in the Hutt Valley. It's just going absolutely bonkers. And it's not hard to figure out why. Jump on Trade Me and have a look at how many properties are for sale in Lower Hutt at the moment. This time last year, there was about 600 properties on the market in Lower Hutt on Trade Me. A few months ago, it dropped down to 350 properties. This morning, it was 290 properties for sale in the entire region here. Unbelievable. The shortage of stock is just incredible. All right, some more suburbs. Kandala, as I say, I like it. I like Kandala. It's close. It's good quality. I also like Johnsonville. I don't particularly like Churton Park, Crofton Downs. Karori, actually the biggest single suburb in Australasia. It's massive, goes for miles. The far end of Karori is sort of closer to Nelson than Wellington, to be fair, but it's still getting huge money. Looked at a property up there today and we'll probably look at paying $100,000 over GV for the property that we saw today. Kelburn, largely pushed along by the fact that you can rent just about anything in Kelburn to people who go to the university because it's within walking distance. Brooklyn, beautiful homes. Newtown, really close to the city and the hospital. And really on this side of the city, you're really from Oriental Bay, Haitaito, Kilburnie, Berhampore, Kingston, Island Bay, and through to the airport. You really cannot go wrong at the moment. I've literally got a client who has a 3-bedroom house in Kilburnie, has totally relaxed on how long it takes to renovate the property because they're watching the values of the properties around them go through the roof while they're taking their time renovating it, which is a great position to be in, to be fair. So my favourite lower hut, booming along. As I said before, Petone down here on the waterfront, loving it. Korokoro, Mangaraki, Normandale, Kelson, Belmont, all of those hill suburbs are moving. Central Hut is great. You've just got to look out a little bit along the riverfront here because they are adjusting the flow of the river and there's some few houses coming and going. Bulkotapuni, Waiwatu, Waterloo, all moving along really nicely. My preferred suburb of Nainai, brilliant for cash flow. So Nainai, 12 months ago, we were buying houses for $280,000, $290,000 and selling them for $360,000, $370,000. At the moment, we're buying houses there for $310,000, $320,000 and selling them for $390,000, $400,000. We very recently bought a house there for $410,000 and renovated it and just sold it for $540,000. So, once again, really ticking along. It's Nainai, Taita, and Avalon, and we're a little tight triangle in here, if you like, and really, really starting to move. The only problem with Taita is there's actually quite a few quite nasty properties in there, so you've got to look at the condition. There we go. Here's some examples. Now, before I dive into these, once again, I'm going to hit a few questions here. What sort of discounts are we receiving from RAC interest rates? Good question. Probably very much the same as you, somewhere between 0.25 and 0.3. If you can do better than that, you're doing actually quite well. A lot of banks have actually passed on their interest rate reductions to retail customers at the moment. We did fix an interest rate recently for 3 years at 4.1, which is pretty historically low. Brilliant. Let's have a look. What do I think of Pawatahanui? Yeah, great if you can get a big piece of dirt. Can't get any audio. Well, I can't really tell you the answer to that one because you're not getting any audio. Sorry about that. Alex says, yep, Papram is absolutely booming now. Yeah, I've been noticing that. It's massive. Ginny asks, is Granada in Porirua? Yeah, it's sort of Tawa side of Porirua. Granada is mostly an industrial and light industrial area. It's sort of sandwiched between Woodridge, Johnsonville, and Tawa. Is the Kapiti area still good potential for capital gain? It's obscenely good. I don't think people have realised how much impact that motorway is going to have. The old motorway is going to become a dusty side road, and this new motorway is going to be flash and fantastic and brilliant. Yeah, I think it's going to make a huge positive difference. Let's go. Is there going to be a Kmart in Lower Hutt, Petone too? Yeah, I've heard the same rumour. I believe that there will be, yes. What sort of one-bedroom apartments would you recommend to buy for rental in Lambton Quay? Oh, good question. Anything half-decent quality. I'm biased because I'm building my own, but make sure they've got concrete floors, make sure they yield well, and don't pay more than about $9,000 a square metre. I hope that helps. What are your top 5 things to ask when going to an open home for a rental property? Great question. What's it renting for? Is that the most you think it should be able to get? Have there been any other offers on the property? How long has it been on the market? Do you have anything to disclose? Hope you're furiously scribbling that down. What do you think of buying in Granada near Mark Ave? Love it. Mark Ave connects to the new infrastructure straight down into Lower Hutt. It's, brilliant. I've got friends with houses up there and I'm telling them furiously don't sell. Is Newlands area and Upper Hutt good to buy investments? Yeah, I prefer Upper Hutt at the moment over Newlands myself, but they're both great. Is the capital gains tax applicable outside of Auckland for property investors? Yeah, I think you're a bit confused there. There's a loan to value ratio restriction in the Auckland market, meaning that Auckland investors have to put in a 30% deposit. People in the rest of the country have to only put in an 80% deposit. There is a capital gains tax on profits made from trading property, which is nationwide. What's my opinion on Wainui Amata? Another awesome question. I hate Wainui Amata. I really, really do. It's too far away. You've got to drive over the hill all the time. There's no retail shopping in there that's of any good. There's a shrinking population. Everything's closing down over there. There's not enough people that want the houses. And I'm going to keep talking it down till it's not worth anything, then buy the whole place. Only half kidding, to be fair. Is the advent of Transmission Gully, can you see Levin and Ohau becoming a good option? Only as lifestyle places, they're still a little bit too far out, but I can see Paikokariki, Paparam and Waikanai going really quite spastic. A lot of people are bored in Waikanai and gone, well, I'll get an apartment in Wellington as well and live in one or the other. And I think now they'll get rid of the apartment in Wellington. Not a huge amount of them, but I just think it's going to become close enough for that to be an option. Cool. All right, I'm going to bang through some more of these photos. I'll hit some more of your questions again shortly. So just as a core example, this is a property we bought in the Central Hutt Valley, King's Crez in Lower Hutt, really good street. Paid good money for it, sold it for good money, made good money. This is the type of renovations that we've done on it. As you can see on the left there, the kitchen was very original, very tired. On the right there, we've painted the whole thing white, put some nice downlights in, put some nice hardwood floors in, and used slate bench tops in this one because it was a higher value property. This is the dining room view. We closed in some of the ceiling cavity to get rid of that woodwork. This was the lounge. We closed the ceiling cavity in there too to get downlights and to open up the kitchen slightly more. Just modernised it. We've got a fantastic house dresser too, who's obviously done a great job with this one. Made it look absolutely fantastic. These are the prices. We paid $450,000 for this property. The reno was a bit steep for what we normally do, to be fair. So we put about $105,000 into the project itself. We sold this one for $630,000, and the client made $74,733 profit on this. Now, 12 months ago, the profits we were making on average on properties around Wellington and Lower Hutt was closer to $30,000 or $40,000, and suddenly it has jumped. And you'll see that in the next couple of examples as well. Gainsborough Ave, Lower Hutt. This is actually up on the hills in Belmont. This property was on the market for quite some time. It was large, a little bit ugly, and it just needed some love and a bit of a cuddle. We took a lot of greenery out of the driveway area in the back of the property and just basically painted it, made it look really cool. Once again, a very simple reno, to be fair. New kitchen cabinetry, put a bit of style in it. Made the lounge and living areas really nice. Some nice light fittings once again. Nothing horrifically expensive. Same furniture as the previous one. Bathrooms are pretty good actually. There wasn't too much to be done on these ones. And once again, a nice profit was made. $310,000 purchase price. Renovation of $72,000 on this one. That includes holding costs, agents' fees, house dressing, valuations, closing costs, lawyers, the whole shebang. Sold for $454,000, netting the client $71,000 on this one. Once again, a really nice tidy profit. And let's face it, if you're making a profit like that on one deal, you only have to do 2 or 3 of these deals a year to be a very, very happy wee investor, aren't you? Rondane Place in Lower Hutt. This looks like a Lockwood, but it's actually an ideal home. On the left is the before and on the right is the after. We didn't do a huge amount of reno on this one, to be fair. Painted out some ceilings, put some new carpet, and once again, house dressed it really nicely, kitted it out, made it look the way that it should. And we bought this one for $390,000. Renovation was a fairly conservative $43,000. sold for $485,000, netting a profit of $52,000 for the client. Lovely, awesome, just what we want. So, I mean, this is what we do in Property Tutors. We teach our clients to do this stuff. The way we do that is we, let's be quite frank. I do a whole pile of these free webinar series to get you guys to show you a little bit about what we do, and then we put on one massive event. Sometimes one, sometimes two of these events a year. We put them on strong and hard. Our Wellington one is actually coming up on this Sunday, and we have 40 tickets left until we're absolutely sold out on that event. And so myself on the left there and Sean Wood on the right stand on stage and give you a complete blueprint for how you can do exactly what it is that our clients do. We show you exactly the suburbs and the locations and the things that we like doing, how we do it, and more importantly, let you talk to the clients that actually are doing it as well. And I think this is one of the key things that most people really, really get a kick out of when they come to our event is we put a whole pile of our clients, and I mean the ones that just made the profits that I've just shown you on the properties that I've just shown you. We put them up on stage, hand them a microphone, and you guys get to ask them questions about what they're doing. And they can ask them questions about us, and you can ask them questions about anything you like. We crew the entire event with current clients of ours who are doing this stuff. Now, 300 people have already booked for this event, and so it's going to be a very full room at the Intercontinental on Sunday. We do have 40 seats remaining, and this could be absolutely just the thing to spur you into your property investing, as it has for all of the people standing on stage and the people that made the profits that I've just shown you. If you need any more further encouragement, what I'm going to do is give a few freebies away. So here we go. If you are one of the purchasers of the 40 remaining tickets this evening, we're going to choose one person and partner and chuck them into the Property Tutors helicopter, and we'll go to a winery for lunch for the day, and you can pick our brains on property, or you can just get a little bit sizzled on wine if you like. I mean, whatever you're into, let's go. I think that's a really nice day out. So does Sean. And so, hey, we'll do that as well. So we'll make it really nice. We're also going to chuck in a really decent webinar special only deal. Attendees to this weekend's event who buy one of the last remaining 40 tickets from this webinar only will receive a one-time only special gift at the door as they enter. Can't tell you what it is, but it's really cool. We spent some nice money on getting these, and they are really, really neat. And they're a little property investing tool that I think you'll really like. But we've only got 40 of them for the last 40 tickets that we sell this evening. So here we go. Tonight's offer. For the next 1 hour, 60 minutes, or until the last 40 tickets are gone, you can get a double ticket to the Property Masters event for $9.90, and you will go in the draw for the helicopter trip. You will get one of the last 40 tickets. You will get the freebie as you walk in the door. Now, I think that should all be absolutely, completely, totally irrelevant, because what I think is, the important part is you need to be in the Wellington property market to be making cool money in the next couple of years. I think that's the most important thing. The Ginzu steak knives and the extra stuff is cool, don't get me wrong, but the important stuff is the information you'll learn on the day, which will change your life. I absolutely guarantee it. If you come along and sit in the room with your arms crossed going, I know it all, I guarantee you'll still learn something that you didn't know when you walked in there. And if you do not, if you don't learn something and don't feel that it was a worthwhile event, then I will let you take the gift. I'll still put you in the helicopter drawer, and I'll give you your $10 back. That's my Steve guarantee. Tap me on the shoulder and say, Steve, didn't get as much as I thought out of this. I want my money back. I will have $10 in my pocket on the night, and I will give it back to you. So to get your tickets, all you've got to do is go to bookthedeal.co.nz and grab your ticket now. We have, as I say, 40 tickets remaining that we can sell this evening, and then we are completely chocker out of tickets. So you need to grab your tickets right now. Okay, cool. So it's at the Intercontinental Hotel in Wellington, Friday the 15th of May, Sunday the 15th of May, so that's this Sunday. We run from 9 a.m. till 7 p.m. Registration opens at 8:30. There's parking down there. Just bowl on up and use the concierge service, park on the street, or chuck it into the event centre underneath the TSB. And we will make sure that you have an absolutely fantastic day. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit some more of your questions. Awesome. So I'm just getting some text through saying that a couple of people have actually grabbed those first few tickets already. That's fantastic. Dion, look forward to seeing you there. That'd be great. All right. Is buying a section of building a house a good option for first home buyers in Wellington? Yeah, absolutely is. Good question, Dan. Good option because you can borrow up to 90%. Good option because the government wants you to be a first home buyer building your own house. And good option because house values have gone through the roof, but construction hasn't really moved too badly yet. So there's actually nice margin there to be had. Hi, Steve. How do you find investment properties at discounted prices in those suburbs that you've mentioned? At the moment, you don't. You don't really get discounts at the moment. You buy it for what it's worth, you add some value, the property starts moving in value, and you make money there. It's a capital gain investment market at the moment, not a can I buy discounts. If you find something and you get a massive discount moving in and getting your hands on it, there's probably a problem with the property. So look at it very, very closely at the moment. Nice to see the logo on there. Good one, Ben. Thanks for that. What about Upper Hutt? Would your group go to Upper Hutt or Lower Hutt? Yeah, we do. We do Maribang, Birchville, all the way down to Petone. We do a lot of stuff in Upper Hutt. Like the market up there. It's pretty cool. George says, grabbed my double ticket. Oh, yeah, good point. Each ticket you purchase for $9.95, $9.90 is actually a double ticket, so you can bring somebody else with you as well. So it's a ticket for two. Awesome. Given the choice between Trentham and Wainui, who wins? Trentham all day long. Thanks for coming. Another good question, though. If you live in Hamilton, where would you invest for cash flow? 500K budget. If I lived in Hamilton, I would invest either in Hamilton or Tauranga at the moment, just because personally I like to have my investments pretty close to me. And I don't think those two places are overcooked yet, to be fair. I'd love to say Wellington and hometown and, blah, blah, blah. Some ticket sales coming through. 3, 4, 7, 8, 9 ticket sales. Awesome. Great to see. What location is best for a quick renovation and sale? Yeah, cool question, Clinton. I don't know if it's necessarily the location as opposed to the house. What I teach my clients quite heavily is keep a really good close eye on the buyer pool. And what I mean by buyer pool is if you renovate a studio house, 1 bedroom with a big piece of land, who wants that? Not many people. If you've got a big piece of land, they probably want 4 bedrooms. They don't want a 4-bedroom apartment in central Wellington, though. They want a 1 or a 2. So is the property fit for purpose, and will there be a pool of buyers who want it when you've finished renovating it? I think that's the more important question than the location. Is it fit for the location? Hope that answers your questions. How are you finding the housing stock at the moment? Thin, limited. There's not enough of it. There really isn't. We are finding it the same way everybody else is. We're kissing up to real estate agents and getting our hands on it as early as humanly possible. And then a lot of properties at the moment are going either tender or auction, which we don't actually mind too much. Auction's great because you get to go face-to-face with the person you're competing with. And I think of it more as a contact sport, to be fair. It's quite fun to go along and try and intimidate somebody into not bidding again. But great question, Daniel. Joe's just grabbed his tickets. 8:30 registration, Joe, and it's a 9 o'clock start. So look forward to seeing you there. So therefore, has Petone has gone too far in the cycle to get in now? No, I don't agree with that, Nicola. Petone very rarely, if ever, even not in my lifetime, has gone backwards in value. You ask any decent Petone real estate agent, think Susie Gambitsi or any of the ladies at Leaders, some of the professionals agents, ask them about Petone and they'll say, look, you'll never ever regret buying in Petone. It always goes through the roof and pretty much stays there. It's huge. All right, big jump in ticket sales. We're at 18 ticket sales of the 40. So that's awesome. Fantastic. What do you think of Old Villa and Petone early 1900s? Love it. Petone's a character area. People love old villas, old houses. Petone's the only place in Lower Hutt where you walk in and you might go uphill down the hallway and then downhill and people don't care because everywhere else the house would be considered stuffed, but in Petone they consider it to be character, which is kind of cool. Just hit 20 ticket sales, I'm told, so we've got 20 to go. What percentage over G are properties in the Hutt going for? it's not as easy as that. All I can say is that 6 months ago we were buying 5% below or at GV, and now we're probably paying 10 or 15% over GV, and I believe that it will continue to go that direction. She's a hard old market. Why Nui Amata? Question mark. No, I don't like it myself. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Good question, Ben. Do we meth test properties prior to purchase? No, I don't. I think that this whole let's meth test everything under the sun is a flash in the pan overreaction. Myself, I think that if there's obvious signs of contamination, get it tested, absolutely. But 90% of the properties you see, not an issue at all. And what I mean by obvious signs is, I believe it or not, when you walk in, is the person living in the property smoking meth? Now, I'm not joking. This has happened. Yeah, enough said. The next one, is there chemicals being stored around the property that look dodgy? Big white bins and containers of liquid chemicals. In that case, get it tested. And the third one, you walk in and the tenant's been kicked out and the whole place is clean and it smells like ammonia. It smells like somebody's scrubbed the living heck out of it. Get it tested. There you go. Ticket sales, 25, 15 to go. If you want a ticket to this event and to get all those freebies, it would be a really good idea to grab that one right now. Now, if the website is crashing a little and you can't get through, as it does occasionally, we apologise. If you're on bookthedeal.co.nz and you're not getting your tickets coming through, I would highly recommend giving me your name and email address in the questions section of the webinar software, and we will get somebody to give you a call either tonight or tomorrow and sort your ticket out for you. Don't want you to miss out. 28 tickets sold. Would you explain your statement on liking and disliking parts of Newtown? Yeah, certainly. Justin, there's Newtown and then there's Newtown. The main street of Newtown has quite a few big boarding houses used for some occasionally transient people and people that are on methadone treatments. And some of those locations can be a little bit dodgy and not the greatest. Then you've got sort of one street off that even. You can have Rintol Street, for instance, which is, a fantastic home buyer location and a place where you can buy, some really stunning houses, and you can only be one street away, and there'll be a great investor property stock place. So, I think you just got to be knowledgeable about Newtown to a degree and know what it is you're looking at and looking for. Cool. What are my thoughts on Wainui? As previously covered, not a fan. Stokes Valley, love Stokes Valley, always have. Stokes Valley's a quiet little suburb of low quality, low volume properties, but they're not building any more, and it's become scarce, and you can buy some good stuff there. Will this presentation be available for us to watch and listen later? Yeah, possibly. I always record these, and sometimes they corrupt, but we'll chuck it on YouTube and put a link onto our Facebook page. 182 people online. If some of you aren't members of our Facebook page, now would be a great time, by the way. Just got a text through, 31 tickets sold, so we've got 9 to go. Done. Thoughts on Whiteman's Valley? For my money, too far out and lifestyle only. There you go. How about Arrow Valley? Yep, love it. Close to the university. Low value properties, but that doesn't matter. They're just cheap and cheerful, and I'm all about Arrow Valley. Upper Hutt, love Upper Hutt, all parts of it. House Tower, not a huge fan, to be fair. O'Faro Bay, love it, beautiful. Who did you get 3 years at 4.1% from? I couldn't tell you, but I believe it was definitely a mainstream bank, because we wouldn't have gone anybody dodgy. So it'll be, one of the initials, ASB, ANZ, Westpac, one of those. They will do it if you ask and you're a good enough client. P-Labs, covered that. Is there a shortage of tradies? Are their prices increasing at the moment? No, not really, but good question. There isn't a shortage of tradies that we've noticed, but they do fluctuate in price. Realistically, if you're a painter and you've got 3 jobs ahead of you and somebody comes and says, I need you to quote, then you put the price up a little. If you're a painter and you've got no jobs in front of you, you cut your price down because you want to get the work. So we always work with a really big fat selection of different tradies, and that tends to sort the problem out. Thoughts on Tawa with impacts of motorway? Yeah, not bad. I mean, I don't particularly love Tawa, but I think the motorway is going to make it a lot better, a lot easier to use. 33 ticket sales. What have we got? 7 to go. 7, and we are close to sold out. You know what happens when we sell all 40 of these last few tickets for you guys that are still buying them? It means we have to start taking 10-person tables out and just putting chairs in the room because we're running out of room. Just means you guys are going to have to turn up earlier. You might have to sit on someone's knee. For first property investment, where do you start? Own current home with 20% equity. Market knowledge. Couldn't say any more than that. Figure out a couple of suburbs that you really like. Go to every open home in those suburbs. Look at every sale. Talk to every real estate agent and gain some market knowledge. Get it to a point where you go along to an auction, you watch the auction, you pretty much know how much it's going to sell for before the auction starts. Get your head around that. And hey, I got to say it too. Go to the website, grab a ticket to my event. I'm pretty sure on Sunday I can get you a couple of years ahead in your thinking of what it might take. How would you suggest we find these properties? Trade Me, other sites, etc. Yep, absolutely. Realestate.co.nz, Trade Me. All of these websites are magic and amazing and great. And what they do is they take you to properties you want to go to. When you go to the property, there's a real estate agent there. Say hello, be memorable, kiss up to the real estate agent, introduce yourself, tell them what you're looking for, ask them to work with you. That's the way we do it. It works very, very well. And then buy properties off them, and you gain their loyalty that way. What do I think about Newlands? I'm okay about Newlands. I don't mind it too badly. Any views on Eastbourne and the Bay's capital gain potential? Eastbourne always goes off really hard at the very end of a property boom. There's no secondary market in Eastbourne. People basically buy in Eastbourne to live there themselves. There's not really a rental market there as such. And it's premium homes. So they're not, in my recommendation, the greatest investment stock in the world. Bang, 6 more tickets to go. Phil Thompson in Auckland, who's counting the tickets and firing them through to me, says that once you guys buy 6 more tickets, he's allowed to go home. Because that's our motivation. What about studio apartments, Nicola? Great question. I like them. I'm building some myself. They are yielding massively well. Read that edition of the Property Investor magazine. Or even, tell you what, email me put in the messages section here your email address, and I'll send you a copy of it. I've got a scanned copy, and you can have a bit of a read. You'll see why studio apartments are booming in Wellington at the moment. Justin says he was thinking Strathmore Park would be a good investment. Realistically, with a booming market, there's nothing in Wellington that's not a good investment at the moment. There's just some that are better than others for capital gain. And I think that there's places in Wellington that are better for capital gain than Strathmore Park. Singe has just bought his ticket. Yep, thanks for that. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday as well. Hey, you guys that grab a ticket, tap me on the shoulder on Sunday. I'll be wandering around the room and talking a lot, obviously. But, come and say hello as well. 5 tickets to go. Flat around CBD versus house for renovation in the Hutt Valley. Good question. Depends on what your portfolio already looks like. I really like the notion of keeping a balanced property portfolio. As I said, I come out to the Hutt Valley for cash flow. I go into Wellington for capital gain. So it kind of depends on what you already own and stuff. When would be a good time to sell on the Kapiti Coast? The very, very best time to sell any property is never. If you want to sell it, the next best time is as late as possible. I don't think that the Kapiti Coast is anywhere near overcooked yet. So, my recommendation would be hold for a long time. What would you recommend a student who's almost about to graduate in terms of buying investment property in Wellington? What would be my recommendations? My recommendations for a student who's looking to buy their first property in Wellington would be to buy something nasty that you can work on yourself, live in yourself, and get some flatmates. Increase the value, re-borrow, straighten up your loan-to-value ratio that way. Still sitting on 4 tickets to go, I think. if you guys are still sitting there waiting for these tickets, 4 of them to go. Helicopter trip, special prize, make lots of money in property, boom. Come on, guys, get in there and we're out. What's your opinion of 1970s 2-bedroom brick and tile units? I like brick and tile a lot. 1970s was the introduction, realistically, of Duck's Quest plumbing. So ask the agent if there's any disclosures on the property. Get underneath it. A giveaway is usually the hose tap attachment. What you're looking for is black plumbing with the words printed on it, Ducks, D-U-X, Quest, Q-U-E-S-T, printed on the piping. Keep an eye out for that. That's really the only big nasty from the 70s. Bridget asks, Island Bay overpriced? Nope, I don't think so. If you dropped Island Bay in Auckland, it might not be Herne Bay, but it would be certainly Mission Bay, which has an average price point of well over $1 million. Island Bay does not. We have some legs in that yet. In the next few years, I think those legs will go nuts. I think a lot of people are freaking already about, hey, I'm paying too much for this house, and you're not. If anything, at the moment, you just pay a little bit early. Wait 6 months and you start looking really good. Branko says, what do you think about Stokes Valley for cash flow? I like it. I like Stokes Valley a lot. There's 2 sides to Stokes Valley. Right-hand side's a bit nasty, left-hand side's really nice. We make the most money on the nasty side on the right-hand side as you drive in. Funny one, eh? I can show you some more about that on Sunday. Come along. 37 ticket sales. 3 to go. What do I think of Whitby? Not a huge fan, to be fair. Don't like the place. Never have. My problem with Whitby is there's no scarcity to it. You can open a valley behind Whitby and have another 100 houses get built in the next couple of years, and no, not a big fan. Add to that the fact that it's they've got really stupid street names. It's quite annoying. Maybe that's just a personal thing. Don't worry about that. That could just be a Steve thing. But also, quite a lot of leaky homes there that are still yet to be fixed. A lot of monolithic cladding, stuff like that. No, not a big fan. Still prefer other stuff. Here we go. Guy asks, I'm planning to buy my first house in Wellington the next year or two and want to buy in Wellington Central because I want the government grant for buying a house to live in. Considering my position, what's your opinion on buying inner city apartment versus a house a bit further out? Newtown, Haitaitai, Karori type of distance from town. I don't think Newtown, Haitaitai, Karori is actually a long distance from town. And, I'll disclose my bias right now. I'm an apartment developer as well, and I'm actually building studios and 1-bedroom apartments. But in that situation, for capital gain in the next few years, I would personally buy a standalone house in one of the suburbs you've mentioned. And I would do it that way and do it because you can add value to it, increase its value, and have capital value over the next few years and borrow against that easier than you possibly could with an apartment deal. Yeah, there you go. We just bought a property, 5-bedroom house in Churton Park. Quite scary to hear Churton Park is not a great area comparatively. Oh, come on, calm down. It might just be me. I'm just not a fan. What's your approximate average cost for a reno in a 3-bedroom? Oh, gosh. We've renovated a 3-bedroom property recently for $3,000 and made a $28,000 profit on it. We've also renovated one and spent $30,000 or $40,000 on it, which is probably the average, somewhere in there. Approximate average, maybe $30,000, $40,000. For that sort of money, we'd expect to paint it inside and out, new kitchen, new bathroom, carpet, curtains, and dress it. We can get an incredibly good reno done for very little money these days. What do you think of Pukekohe Bay, Plymouth, and Parramatta once transmission the gully goes through? I think they're good now. I think they'll be great then once the gully's gone through. 38 tickets sold, 2 to go. Good question from Shane. What house dressing company do you use? We have a lady called Alicia who works with us here at Property Tutors who does 90% of our house dressing. She is under a company called Elite Living. You can find her on Facebook. She does fantastic work. For us, she's done everything from $150,000 nasty little units to $2 million apartments. And I was saying this to another client today. Anybody can put furniture into a property, but she's just got an incredible eye for this stuff. It's just amazing. It does look fantastic. And Shane says, grabbed a ticket. Yahoo. Awesome. Great. There's only a few left. What do you do if you are super keen to invest? We have 3 houses but are leveraged around 75% and don't have very high income. How do you get around this to create money and cash flow to invest further? That is an awesome question. We have some private lenders that are available just to our group, but we also do a lot of joint ventures where we have somebody who has a lot of time to put into it, ready to invest with somebody who has a lot of cash flow from a job but no time. And we network those people together. We do it live at the event. We do it in our groups and in our programs as well. We do it all over the show. So, hey, I would say, David, grab a ticket to the event, come to the event, bring business cards, introduce yourself to people sitting at your table, and then after morning tea, go and sit at someone else's table and introduce yourself to those people and network the living heck out of that room. Ask other people how they're handling it and see a really, really good mortgage broker. And if the mortgage broker says, no, we can't help you, then go and see an even better mortgage broker and just work your way through it. The other way to do it is vendor finance. Turn up on Sunday, tap me on the shoulder and say, you said you would tell me about vendor finance. Work your way through that one as well. Joanna says, is that a Mitre 10 kitchen? Yes. Every kitchen in the photos that we showed you, or the after photos at least, were Mitre 10 kitchens. We really like them. They're a full sealed laminate, decent, soft closed kitchen. And we, in really good locations, put slate bench tops on them, and sometimes we don't. Do your calculations take into consideration agents' fees and interest costs? Yes, all of the ones I showed you tonight do. Melissa, include those. How strict are the KiwiSaver first-home buyers' rules on living in the house for 6 months? Can you get away with not living there for that long? Don't know, to tell you the truth. You could push your luck, but who knows? I'm really not sure. How much profit should you be aiming for after selling a house after reno and holding it on, or holding? How much profit you should be aiming for in selling a house after reno rather than holding on to it for capital gain? Yeah, I've been discussing this with a lot of my clients recently and saying to them, if you're not making $40,000 or $50,000 per property and it's a good quality property, why don't you put it into your holding stock and just sit on it for capital gain? Yeah, we're starting to come around to that way of thinking at the moment. What's your preferred way to sell a house? Price by negotiation, auction, tender, etc. I don't have a preferred method. What I have is a respect for the way that the agent that we choose wants to sell the property, and also have a respect for the type of property that it might be and the way that that system might work that way as well. So, yeah, there's no straightforward answer to that, to tell you the truth. But if there's going to be 20 or 30 people turn up and want to buy the property, I'd go to auction at that stage. If it's only going to be 10 or so, I'd go for a tender. If we're asking for a roof high price and don't really know if we're going to get it, we'd go negotiation. If none of that works, we'd go buyer inquiry over and put the price very low. That way, you get a whole pile of ground feeders come in and then you can push them up a little bit. You don't necessarily have to accept the offer. Hope that makes sense. Pat asks, what are your timeframes from purchase through reno to sale? On average, about 9 weeks. How long do you take for the renovation from buying to selling it? Just answered that question, about 9 weeks. Some of them take a lot longer. Sometimes you've got to do subdivisions, take 6 months, that type of thing, but you'd expect to make a lot more money if you're going to take on that time and effort. What is your team that you always use to assess a purchase, build a value, etc.? We don't necessarily use valuers at the moment because the valuers don't have the faintest idea what properties are worth as much as anybody else. We sometimes take a builder through if we've got a point of a property that we're concerned about leaking or one thing or another, and we sometimes go to council if we see a fireplace that might be a bit nasty, a bit dodgy. So my guys in the background here are telling me that we have, believe it or not, 39 ticket sales. We have one more ticket sale to go. So if you're sitting there going, hey, this guy might be dodgy, we're not. Come along, have a look, grab that last ticket. We are done for the night. Tim says, thanks for sharing your knowledge. It's been great listening. No problem at all. I appreciate it. I work hard on these webinars, nice fresh content. word to Joy Thompson, my PA and CEO in Wellington. She's done a fantastic deal putting a lot of slides together. Magic, appreciate it. Who do you use for the reno work? Good question. We've got 4 or 5 or 6, I think, maybe main crews that work for us. Not a lot of the stuff that we need is builders. At the moment, we use a lot of plasterers, painters, carpet people, specialist curtain people, all that sort of thing. Alan says, what time on Sunday? Registration starts at 8:30. The event starts at 9. Be early, you'll get a great seat. I would like one of these tickets. Great. Well, buy yourself one at bookthedeal.co.nz. Farand, great name. Or send me in the message system here your phone number and email address, and I'll make sure you get the deal from tonight as well. Boom. Ben asks, what vineyard? We're looking at the Hawke's Bay for the helicopter trip, and we'll probably drop it down at Black Barn. They've got a helipad there. Well, basically what they said is they've got a field and the sheep will move. There you go. How much are the tickets, asks Claire. Tickets to this event are $10, $9.90. Can't make it any easier than that. And as I said previously, that's for 2 people. Boom. Claire says, yep, great, cool. Can you please sign me up? No problem. Give us your email address and phone number and we'll make sure somebody gets in touch with you. How do we buy the tickets? Go to bookthedeal.co.nz or give me your email address and phone number in the questions comments section here and I'll make sure you grab one as well. I think we've still got that last ticket still going, actually. I think we're still at 39. There we go. That was great. Thanks very much for your input. No problem, Paris. Enjoyed it. Thanks very much. Pat says, do you largely focus only on properties that need a reno? Yeah, largely we do. We do buy hold properties if they're cash flow positive and suit our purposes for the sake of the portfolio of the client. But what we consider needs a reno and what you might consider needs a reno might actually be very different as well. So we do buy a lot of 60s and 70s stuff that's just, or even 80s stuff that's just incredibly dated. And if you modernize it and drag it into 2016, 17, we still get our money. Melissa says, does the event include food? Nah, get your own lunch. Yeah, we'll do tea and coffee and a few nibbles on the tables, but we'll do a decent lunch break as well. You can go and network and grab something out in the cafe straight over the road. Bang, there we go. What do you think about Arrow Valley for buy and hold? I do like Arrow Valley. Just look at light and sun and access, but apart from that, Arrow Valley is a very good location. Jaylene asks, do you prefer to buy, reno and sell or buy, reno and rent out? What you're asking is, do I prefer to trade or hold property? I much prefer to hold property long term. That's my preference. I trade in suburbs I don't want to hold in for cash flow so I can afford deposits so I can buy and hold in suburbs I do want to. So my technique, my system works faster than most other people's system because I'm always in the property market. I'm always seeing loads and loads of properties and I'm actually doing them faster and quicker and better than a lot of other people because I don't just buy one property every year or 2 years and sit on it forever and hope for the best. I buy really good quality properties, better quality properties than I can afford if I hadn't been trading through so many, and that's the system I run. Love to explain it to you more at the event on Sunday. How do you start with only 40 grand in the bank? Good question, Chris. I've had people start with a lot less. I've got a client who's going to stand on stage on Sunday and tell us how he makes $800,000-900,000 a year trading property, and he started with a $65,000 debt. You can do it with much less than that. Come along, I'll show you. Thanks, Steve, for these webinars. A lot of passion in it for Wellington. Yay, absolutely. No problem at all. Love Wellington. Henry says, can you give a list of the suburbs to avoid buying in Wellington? No, not really. There's no absolute don't go there suburbs. I really don't like Wainui, but for the right deal, I'd go there. I wouldn't discount a $30,000-40,000 profit just for the fact that it was in Wainui. You've got to take it deal by deal. There's certainly a few streets in Lower Hutt and Wellington that I wouldn't be keen to own long term, but that's a whole nother webinar, to be fair. Alison asks, is this for the Auckland venue also on the 22nd of May? Hey, look, if you're sitting there online still and you want to grab a few tickets for the Auckland venue, no worries at all. Go to bookthedeal.co.nz, book it, and I'm sure there's a drop box there that says Auckland event as well. Otherwise, give me your email address and phone number, and I'll absolutely make sure that we get you a ticket for the Auckland one. As I said, we're Wellington's only on Sunday, and we're getting really tight for tickets. So if you're listening in and you want to go, grab your ticket. Make sure you come along. The Auckland venue is a much larger venue, but we've also sold. I'd hate to say how many tickets we've sold, and we're actually running short on tickets for the Auckland one as well. We do have fire marshal issues up in Auckland where we can't actually physically get a bigger room. It's a massive room. So what we actually end up having to do is taking out tables and putting in more chairs for that one. I'm sure Phil Thompson, who's texting me in the background here, is about to tell me some ballpark figure of how many people we've got in Auckland already booked to come, but I believe it's up around 500. And those are double tickets, so they could turn into, a lot of people. So as I say, if you want an Auckland ticket as well, then absolutely go nuts. Yeah, here he goes, 550 tickets sold. Wow. That's going to be huge as well. As I say, a lot of passion in the Auckland market still too, a lot of heat in that. Brent, just grabbed my ticket. See you on Sunday. Awesome. Look forward to it. That'll be magic. How about Palmerston North? Palmerston North, they're all interesting place. Square in the middle, goes out in all directions, centres around the CBD and the university. Great place for cash flow. Also a lot of light industrial in Palmerston North and a good airport. I like Palmerston North as well, if you know the market and if you're up there for cash flow. Brilliant. Awesome. What about Stokes Valley? As previously mentioned, I do like Stokes Valley. Guy says he just bought 2 tickets, meaning 2 people. Does that mean I can bring 4? Yeah, it does actually. Yes, you can come along and bring 4 people with you with those 2 tickets. Do you guys source from private sellers? Yeah, we do sometimes. Sometimes they can be harder to deal with than through a real estate agent. Sometimes it's actually good to have that person in between you, but we do private stuff as well. You used to hear don't buy in Timberley. Is that still the case? Yeah, I'm still not Alex, a huge fan of Timberley. I find that Timberley is just too hard a market to resell in. But I would look now, with the change in the marketplace, I would look at Timberley as a location, as a hold investment place. So I don't discount it totally. Sam says, what's the timing for the seminar? Wellington is this Sunday. It's at the Intercontinental Hotel, and 8:30 is registration, 9 o'clock is start time. We often don't finish till 7 o'clock at night. It is a big, long day. We will take good care of you, give you plenty of breaks and stretches of the leg, and it will be worth your while coming along. Trust me, we'll make it awesome. Would you invest in Hamilton or Wellington right now? Hey, Hamilton's been booming for 6 or 7 or 8 months. Wellington's been booming for 3 months. I think they're very comparable. Depends on where you live. If you find a grouse deal in one or the other, grab it. I stood up at the Wellington Property Investors meeting last night and said to everybody in the room that here's the special Steve dispensation. I think that all investors in Wellington should go out and buy 5 houses right now. And in 3 or 4 years' time, tap me on the shoulder and say, Steve, you were bloody right. Let me buy you a beer. And I will be. Trust me. Do it. Palmerston North, already answered that one. How much tax do you pay on renovation gains? Great question, Matt. You do pay tax. You pay tax on it like it's income. So you essentially take a $60,000 profit, and worst case scenario, you halve it. It's 30 grand after tax. But it does show that you've made $60,000 in that taxable year too, which helps you borrowing more money for the next taxable year. So, hey, no worries. You can also put a few expenses in there, driving around, seeing the houses. Strategies for winning at tender. Put in your best price, best foot forward. Well, I'm sorry, I can't. It's a blind product. It's meant to be that way. Hard work tenders. Don't like them myself. Answered that one. How secure is the website for visa payments? If you're worried about site security, then just give me your email address and your phone number on the questions panel here, which only I can see, and I'll get somebody to telemarket you. We'll sort it out offline over the phone. Are we having trouble finding tradesmen for renovations? No, we're not actually. We're actually pumping through it quite nicely. Do you think the market will be as strong in 2 years' time as it is today? Great question, Charlene. No, I think it'll be stronger than it is today. I think it's only just warming up. I think a whole pile of factors have come into line that has made the Wellington market boom. I think it's taken 8 years for them to line up, and I personally and truly believe that they will still be booming in 5 years' time. I think we're in here for a good time. And Phil's on the background there telling me that our website for visa payments has the same security rating as Main Street banks. So you should be fine there, no problem at all. Any special offer for the Auckland event? Yeah, hey, look, if you want to buy a ticket for the Auckland event tonight, I don't think Phil will mind me telling you that we will give you the same offer, $9.90, special gift, assuming we don't run out of those. We should be right, actually. Yeah, should be right. And you put you in the draw for the helicopter flight as well. And let's face it, educate the living heck out of you and make you lots of money. Can't go wrong. Sonny says, will Tawa benefit from the new motorway? Yes, it will, but it will benefit from the one that goes through to the Lower Hutt as well. So it'll be a double whammy there. This is why Petoni's bonkers as well. There you go. We just bought a 5-bedroom property. Yep, answered that. Oh, how do you calculate your purchase price on tenders and renovation? Derek, look, I'll tell you what, I'll spend 40 minutes on it at the event on Sunday. Come along. Wellington or Auckland, let's go. Kim says, Steve, are we able to purchase premium tickets? Yeah, we do VIP tickets at the front of the room with extras on the table and a few freebies. You're also right at the front, so you get all of the free stuff that the speakers give away on stage. Go to the Property Tutors website and buy your ticket from there, and you can buy a VIP ticket. Fantastic. Love to see you there. What type of tenants do you look for? I look for tidy, clean tenants that will pay me the most rent possible. Sarah says, I've submitted for tickets, not sure if it's gone through. I don't want to be insecure and give your second name online tonight to everybody to hear, but I will text it to Phil in the background here, and he will confirm with me in 2 seconds whether he's seen your ticket sale come through, Sarah, and I'll come back to you in 2 seconds. How often do you run these webinar series? I do about 6 or 7 of them a year. Keep an eye on their Facebook fan page for Property Tutors, and we always advertise them on there pretty heavily. Hope that means that you are glad that you come along tonight. Sarah, Phil says, yep, got your ticket sale. It's come through, so you're golden. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday. Joanna says, when would be a good time to sell a newly built house on the Kapiti Coast? Depends on you, really. I said as previously, I don't like selling houses. If it's a good property and it works for itself, keep it forever. Hi, trying to get 2 tickets, won't load, says David. I will make sure that Phil gets back to you on that email address. If you could throw me your phone number as well, be even better. We'll make sure that we get that one sorted. Hi, Steve. Does it make sense to subdivide and build 2 or 3 townhouses on our full section in Hutt Central? Thanks. Yes, absolutely. Throw through the street. Let me know where it is. I'll give you an even better idea. But I've got clients currently doing them in Woburn and also in Bulcott, and I've also got surveying companies rather lined up, ready to go, and they're going absolutely bonkers at the moment. And it just doesn't cost that much, and you end up with a really good product, making some big money on doing that stuff at the moment. Great. For your first rental property, is it good to target an area which offer cash flow or capital growth? For your first one, kind of a little bit of both, but I'd probably also buy something that you can add some value to. If this Sunday isn't good to attend your Masters event, will there be another one this year? I couldn't guarantee it, actually, to tell you the truth. Andrea, what I would say is if there's 2 of you, husband, wife, business partner, family members, send someone else along. Sean in Auckland's got some clients that have been with him, believe it or not, now for 6 years, and they make millions of dollars in the property market, and they never came to this Masters event. They bought a ticket and sent their son along, and their son went, oh my God, this is amazing, you've got to go along to this. Phil's telling me, yeah, 7 years, he knows who I'm talking about. Now, these people make obscene money in property in Auckland. They have north of a $10 million property portfolio these days, never came to the event. Bought a ticket, sent their son along. Their son said to them, you've got to go and have an interview with these people, have a conversation with them, talk to them a little bit more. They did it. They signed up. They are coming to my event on Sunday. They will stand on stage and tell you the story themselves. Huge money, great people. So there you go, Andrea. Buy a ticket, send someone else along for you. Steve says, what do you think about Wadestown? Sar Street's an example. Most houses are built 100 years ago on steep sections. Yeah, but they're so close to the city. I like Sar Street. I like Ann Street. I like Barnard Street, which I've owned on before. It's the sort of place where you'd buy a property and own it for a generation, and not there's no downside to it. To be fair, just so close to the city. Lee asks, do we offer mentoring at the event? Yeah, we spend about 40 minutes selling our product at the event. The rest of it is pure full content. What are my thoughts on Mornington? Steep sections, halfway up a hill, no great views, which means basically they're cheaper houses, but they are still really centrally close to town. So once again, I'll tell you what's been great for Wellington central city suburbs, Uber, the cheaper taxi service. Wow, what a difference. Lower Hutt is $60 to $70 cab into central Wellington if you want to eat and drink and get merry. Uber, $35. It's made all of the suburbs more connectable to central Wellington. It's actually made a big difference. Good comment here, Lynn. We've just bought 2 properties and meth tested both. One was positive and one was negative. We'll test all from now on. Saves thousands of dollars in cleaning up to ministry standards. Yeah, okay. I'll let you get away with that one. Fair call. Appreciate your comment. Thanks for that. Perry says, what about Moera? Moera is a great little suburb. It's central to the heart. It's one suburb out from Petone. It's always been a scruffy little suburb that hasn't really done much. Great for cash flow, not so fabulous for capital gain. Sarah says, question answered. Email has arrived with confirmation shares. No problem at all. Thanks. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday. What are your thoughts on Mount Victoria, Oriental Bay, etc.? Love it. Horrifically expensive. Worth it. Buy it. If you can afford a property in those locations and it works for you, buy the property and own it for a couple of generations. You will not be disappointed. Can you please confirm transaction has gone through for my ticket sale? I'm pretty sure that it has, but I will send your name through to Phil and get him to confirm in the background there and come straight back to you. Moera, yes, answered. Phil's onto it. Tawa, question mark. Yes and no. It's not my favourite suburb, but they do sell really well. Good central stuff. Yes, your ticket did come through, so we've got that one. There you go. From buying to reselling, what time frame do you typically take for renovations? Yeah, it's 8 to 10 weeks. Sometimes you can't turn it over quicker than 5 or 6 weeks. And realistically, if there's a permit involved, or you're doing something that's with a load-bearing wall, or you've got to go to council, you can add another 4 or 5 weeks onto the process there as well. There you go. Boom. Moera, is it as good as Petone? No, it's not. Petone is definitely a premium suburb. Moera is definitely a intermediate suburb, shall we call it. Capital gain in Pabram in the next 2 years should be very, very good. Yes. Are there still cash flow properties in the market? Yes, there are, but only because interest rates are around 4.5%. So be wary of that. Still buy stuff that's 6.5%, 7.5%, even 8% returns, because interest rates could go back up to that level. And the property market's booming at this stage, different to how it did in 2005, 2006. I'll explain some more of that on the weekend, James, but come along and see, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. Bear and poor houses for rental, yep, love them. Good and close to the city. 1930s weatherboard houses, yep, like them. Check the wiring, make sure that's good. Is floating at 4.75% good? Yeah, it's not bad. 4.5's better. Donna asks, have we received booking for your tickets under your name? I will just check with you. Come right back to you, Donna. With those profits, do you do the work yourself or do you get tradespeople in? The 3 deals I showed you this evening were all fully done with tradespeople. We didn't do them ourselves. We took crews of people in. Give me 2 seconds. We take our crews of people in because it's not worth your time and effort once you're doing a few of these to spend all day and all night scrubbing the living heck out of a reno when you could be actually finding another cool one to buy. That's our logic on that. What do I think of Kowai Street in Nainai? I like the street, but not if you can see the cemetery. Donna asked me about the tickets that we'd received under Jane. Yes, we have got them. Done. Beautiful. Kowai Street, Wazim. I like Kowai Street, but there's certain nationalities that won't live within view of the cemetery on Kowai Street in Nainai, and so we avoid those, or at least discount the price that we would buy those ones for. Hope that makes sense. Do we use a range of bank or spread, or put them all with one bank? We try very, very hard to spread our mortgages over a range of banks. We don't want to get equity locked in that regard. And we work with a really great mortgage broker in Wellington here, Carl Mann at Mortgage Supply Company. He actually works out of our office quite often, and he's very, very good at doing that for us as well. How many property brokers people are active in the Hutt Valley? None that I know of, to be fair. What formula do you use to come out with your reno and purchase price? Great question, Shanae. There we go. Just probably butchered your name. Sorry about that. I'll explain it in great detail with graphs and pictures and photos at the event on Sunday when I have more time. Answered that question already. Is it a good idea to short-term hold a renovated property, or will you incur extra tax when you sell? No, you won't incur any extra taxes. You'll incur the same taxes you would if you had held it for a short period of time. That's the answer to the question that I think you're asking. Hope that makes sense. Raz says, thoughts on Ellistown? Ellistown's a good suburb. It's really starting to boom. If you're too close to Railway Ave or Hutt Road, it can get a little dark and a little cold in the winter. But if you're on the other side on the riverbank, it's fantastic. And you can still buy properties in Ellistown now for Ellistown prices, although Petone is starting to move up and you're starting to buy Ellistown properties for Petone prices, if that makes sense. Meaning prices are starting to move. So keep an eye on that. Would you recommend a first home buyer buy an investment property that can double up as a home? Yeah, I would. Buy a home and income. Move into the income. Buy a house that's 4 bedrooms up with a little unit underneath it. Move into the little unit. You'll find the cash flow goes bonkers. A lot of people don't think about it that way. How much of a deposit would you save before jumping into the property market? I'd save the biggest deposit you possibly could, but I also wouldn't wait too long, because if you've got a $40,000 deposit and you wait a year and the market goes up 10%, you end up diminishing the value of your deposit. So keep an eye on the market and get in as soon as you possibly can in this market, particularly in Wellington, because it's just moving. It's just going so blimmin' well. Leilani's just given me her email address. We'll get in touch with you either tonight or tomorrow and confirm and make sure that we've got a ticket for you as well. Make sure that you that we give you the special deal from tonight as well, because you've obviously been struggling to get your ticket through the booking system, and we apologise for that. It's been flat out tonight. I've just given your email address through to our back end guys, and they'll get onto it. And Nicole, yep, I'll make sure you've got that as well. Ben, I'll make sure you get a copy of that. Bang, Alison, same thing. Nicole asks, are you going to be at the Auckland event? I have tickets for that one. Yes, I will be. I'll be speaking at both the Wellington and the Auckland events. I'm the primary speaker at the Wellington event, and Sean Wood assists me and basically MCs that event, gives a bit of his knowledge as well. And it's the other way around in the Auckland event. I basically assist him, and he's the primary speaker at that event as well. Bang, there we go. Geez, I multitask. Do you think Stokes Valley will see capital gains? Yeah, I do. It's an intermediate suburb, not a premium suburb, and it will happen a little bit later than, say, Balcott, Apuni, Waiwatu, Waterloo, which is moving now, but it will happen very shortly as well. It's probably a really good time to get in there, actually. There we go. Wow, that was inappropriate. There we go. Great question, though, Justin. When would you recommend selling an upper hut? As usual, I'd recommend selling never if you can get away with it. But essentially, leave it as late as you possibly can. I've got clients that have got a small portfolio that they want to sell to get into a commercial building. They haven't found a commercial building they like yet, so I'm saying to them, well, leave it as long as you can because the market's moving upwards. So, why would you wait? Hopefully I can squeeze a question in here. Yep, you can. I'm 22 and own a property here in Hamilton with 23% equity. Ideas for where to go from here. Is it fully renovated? Have you maxed out the cosmetic appeal of the property? Now go and shop around to get your hands on a really decent valuation, see if you can squeeze any more equity out of it. Then go and sit down with a mortgage broker with that and see what sort of redraw facility that you can pull out, and then go out there and start looking for something else. Get it moving. Let's go. Good question, though. Good one. Sonia says, please send me the article as well, and I'll see you on Sunday while I'm crewing. Awesome. I look forward to catching up with you on Sunday, Sonia. Another question. Can you reserve us 2 seats, says David. Yes, David, we've got your booking through, so we've got 2 good seats for you there, no problem at all. Telia asks about site security. Yeah, we're as secure as a Main Street bank, so yes, you can absolutely buy through our website with good security. If you have a concern on that, then give me your email address and phone number on the questions tab here, and we will give you a quick phone call and grab your ticket that way. Answered that one. One asks, does the proximity to a good school add value? Yes, it does. Certain suburbs in Lower Hutt are zoned for certain better or worse schools, and it adds value if it's a 3 or 4 bedroom house or a family home. And if you can take a nasty house that's been a flat or a rental for ages and turn it into a first or second time home buyer's house in a good school zone, you can ride on the back of that and get a really good capital gain out of it. What about Mawera? Love it for capital gain, for cash flow. It will get capital gain eventually. Interesting question from Jonathan. If you lose your job but can maintain mortgage payments, will the bank be okay with the reduced income? Predominantly, yes. They will probably reduce the income you're getting from the rental properties and only use, say, 70% of it for servicing ability. But having said that, they'll still consider it, so not too bad. Answered that one. Preeta says that she has grabbed her ticket. Great. Looking forward to seeing you on Sunday. Answered your question. Done. Do you think there will be many people in the market looking to buy high-spec homes in Paraparaumu? Yes, I do. I think it'll become a viable alternative to a lot of suburbs because it's just going to feel so much closer to Wellington with this new motorway. Is Masterton good to buy for a rental? Yeah, certain properties in Masterton are great to buy for rental. They will take a little bit longer to get capital gain in this marketplace, though. Thanks, Steve, for the informative webinar. See you on Sunday. Ken from Christchurch. Awesome. Great to see you coming up from Christchurch for that. That'll be magic. Alrighty. Alison says, awesome. Thanks for the webinar. No problem at all. Done. Answered that question. Wow. Pounding through the questions. Bridget says, great presentation. Have a young child, so can't make the event. Assume I can get more information from your website. Yes, you can. Throw us in your email address and phone number if you would like us to send you out some more information as well. Great to have you. Sam says, is it possible to change venues from the Wellington to the Auckland venue? Can't make the Wellington event anymore, but really don't want to miss out. Yeah, Sam, that's eminently doable. What I will do is just text your full name, to Phil Thompson, and he will find your ticket, give you a quick call either tonight or tomorrow, and just confirm that you're available for the Auckland event, and we can change you from being registered for Wellington through to the Auckland one. He's got your details there. He's sorting it as we speak. Couldn't wait for your response, so I bought my ticket anyway. Awesome. What's the lowest profit you ever got? Oh, good one. I think we got about a $12,000 profit on a property once. But to be fair, we didn't spend anything on the reno, so the risk was lower too. It's all risk versus reward, to be fair. So, Sue asks, will Couric be speaking on Sunday? Yes, he will. We're flying him in from Australia. He's coming to the Wellington and the Auckland event. We love Couric. He's brilliant, a fantastic speaker, and a great, great, cool guy. So, yeah, we're flying him in again. He's magic. We are the high equity, low cash flow first home buyers in Wellington. Where would you start if it was you? I'd start at Wendy. I'd start with a mortgage broker. Sit down, see what you can get, see what you can do. Thank you for the straight up advice. No problem at all. Do you ever do minor dwellings for increased yield? How big does a site need to be in the hut for a minor dwelling? To be fair, no, we haven't done any minor dwellings in Wellington, and there's definitely some council reasons for that. Go and speak to a surveyor or the Willowa Hutt City Council, you'll find out why. Certainly in Auckland, they're a great, great way to improve cash flow, but in Wellington, not so much. Thanks, great webinar. See you on Sunday. Awesome. Catch you then, Alex. Haven't caught up with you for ages. Alison said, yep, got that. Thanks for sharing. Great info. No problem. See you on Sunday. Answered that one. What about buying off the plans for townhouses? Yeah, there's a few fishhooks in it, but absolutely. I think it's a grouse idea. I'm selling a lot of my apartments off the plan as well. Check out the developer you're dealing with. Make sure you're sorted. Alan says, bought my ticket. See you Sunday. That's fantastic. Magic. Claire says, what are your thoughts on body corporates? I think they've become a lot better. The Unit Titles Act has meant they've had to become a lot more professional. But if you're looking at buying a property under a body corporate, read the last 6 months worth of body corporate reports. Do your due diligence. David banged through his phone number. No worries, we'll get in touch. Kim says, oh goodness, wasn't expecting you to reach my message. I answer every question. I'll sit here all night. Bang, let's go. Jaylene says, can you check that my ticket came through? I can. I will bang your name through to Phil right now and get him to just check that it's come through. Boom. I'm being asked if I said that I don't like to sell, does this apply to apartments? Yeah, it applies to everything. If you're going to buy something as an investment property and consider it in your hold portfolio, why would you ever sell it? Hold on to it till the cows come home. Jaylene, Phil says, yes, we got your ticket. You are done. You are there. Ellen says, keen to buy a ticket. Sounds like it's better to give you my email. And I've got an email address and a phone number. Love the seminar. Thanks for the knowledge. No problem at all. I'll fire that through to Phil very shortly, and he'll contact you by email or phone either this evening or first thing tomorrow and make sure that we secured you a ticket with that great deal. What do you think about the Christchurch market? Is it worth subdividing a back section in Queen's Park? It's TC3 land. It probably is, and I don't mind the Christchurch market. I find it's a little bit hard at the moment, but hey, get stuck in and see what you think it's going to be worth. Good question. Newland's capital gain potential, it's all there. Do you think a 9i property is worth investing for capital gain if you buy a 400 grand plus house in a better street, or best to buy cheaper for cash flow? I think 9i is great for capital gain at the moment. It's moving, it's starting to come up, and it's got a long way that it could go. But what you're asking me is, should I hold for capital gain, or is it best to buy cheaper for cash flow? Well, that's dependent on you and your portfolio and what your portfolio needs. With the market moving so much, hey, just buy it, make it work, as long as the numbers do work. You know what I mean? I just think you can't lose at the moment, because it's just started moving, and it's going to keep going, and it's going to go really, really well. So get stuck in. Daniel asks, when you're doing renos, are you working every day or on weekends? Absolutely, our crew of renovation guys are working 7 days a week. My clients try to only work 4 or 5 days a week at it. They'll laugh at that and go, bugger that, we actually work 7 days a week. I think the real answer is you work really, really hard when you're renovating houses. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme, but it's worth it. And come along to the event on Sunday and ask a few of the clients. They'll tell you the same thing. Cynthia asks, is Mahoe Street and Hutt Central good for subdivision? Yeah, it is. Ask a survey. It's probably you'll probably get down to about probably under 400 square meters per site. They like higher density in that area. Answered that one. Elma asks, is Rotorua a good place to invest? Yes, but look at the zoning of the land. And also, I really only like Rotorua for long-term cash flow investment, to be fair. Lynn says, great webinar. Thank you, Steve. I've booked 2 tickets for Auckland event on the 22nd. Fantastic. Phil will be happy with that. And we'll be booking to do flights for that one. Great. Fantastic. Answered that one. Michael asks, what do you think of the managed apartments like the Ridges Hotel or the Stafford student accommodation? To be fair, I'm actually not a big fan of managed apartment accommodation, simply for the fact that somebody's written a list of rules and things you can and you can't do, and they've written them for their reasons, not yours. It's not a strict no, but I'd say read all the documentation. Andrea says, bought my ticket, see you on Sunday. Fantastic. Lee says, is it a good idea to rent and use all your income to invest? Depends on your situation and your portfolio, to be fair. All right, I think I'm done, people. I'm a bit cooked, to tell you the truth. If you have more questions, buy a ticket and I will answer them for you on Sunday. How does that sound? I think that we are pretty much done for the evening. So I'm going to close the webinar down at this stage. Look, thank you so much for all of your questions. I only got about 100 short of actually answering every question. I've really appreciated your time this evening. Hope you've appreciated the conversation that we've been able to have. If you want to hear more from us, come along to the event on Sunday or the following week in Auckland. We'd really, really love to see you. We sold a heck of a lot of tickets to the event tonight, and we're going to make you guys very, very happy with your decision to do that when we see you on Sunday. Hey, thanks very much, people. Great event. Look forward to seeing you again. Good night.